Good morning, church. Thank you very much for inviting me. This is very, very dear to my heart. And Ndidi and I have been planning over the years. I want to thank the pastorate of New Dawn Baptist Church and his family. I understand he's not here, but Mommy is here. Good morning, Ma. God bless you. Thank you for allowing me to speak at your on your altar. God bless you all. So I'll just say a short prayer. Father, we thank you. We give you all the glory. Thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning, for me to be able to minister to your children and your family. Father, empty me and fill me afresh, that I may touch lives and I may change situations through the work that you continue to do in my life and the lives of people around me. I give you all the glory. When we live here today, let us live here empowered, enriched. Father, Lord God, filled with peace that you give at all times. And I thank you for who you are in our lives. We know and acknowledge we can do nothing except through you. Take all the glory today, Lord. In Jesus' name we have prayed. Amen. When I think of the goodness of Jesus, thank you, and all he has done for me, my very soul shall shout hallelujah. Praise God for saving me. Thank you very much, choir. When I think of what God has done in my life and how he has continued to use me to minister to families that struggle daily, it's a deep pleasure. My story is not different from that of any other parent struggling with their child with special needs. My son was born in 98, and in 2000, we realized that something was not quite right. At 2, a child is supposed to be talking, supposed to tell you what has gone on in school, or even, I'm hungry, I want water. At 18 months, he had some of those words, and then 2, going to 2, we lost everything. And I remember telling my sister then that, sis, something is not quite right. She said, oh, Dotun, you don't call things to yourself. You think positively. I said, sister, this is not a matter of positive. Something is not right. I kept going to the hospitals to find out what is wrong. My son is not speaking. He used to talk, but now he's no longer speaking. Oh, madam, boys talk late. He's a boy. Don't worry yourself about it. So I went home. 6 months down the line, nothing has changed. And God blessed me. And I met this wonderful doctor. Not because she's a doctor, but because she had experienced what I had experienced. She was able to give me some answers. She said, Dotun, your son has autism. I said, what's that? She said, your son is on the spectrum. I said, okay, so what next? What do I do? She said, there's nothing available in Nigeria. You have to leave the country. My husband likes eba, amala, and all those Nigerian stuff. He cannot live abroad. How do we do it here? She said, okay, if you can't go, I'll give you someone that can help you with speech. But you won't be able to do everything. But she would help you at least with the speech therapy. So she introduced me to Auntie Grace, and we started speech and language therapy. 2 years down the line of speech and language therapy, nothing happened. There was no sign that my son was improving. But we kept going. We kept going. At the age of 4, I remember especially it was in November, because November is my birthday. And I went to God. On that day, I was dejected. I cried. I said, God, I'm no longer coming to church. Because how can you give me a child that is not speaking? I was angry. I said a lot of things. And then I traveled. I remember vividly because by then I had stopped working. And I came back. And when I came back, Of course, I had forgotten the time that I was depressed and dejected. And my son walked up to me and said, "Mommy, I want my pencil." One whole sentence. And for the next 6 months, he didn't see anything. That was just a confirmation that you want to stop coming to church? I have your back. And that was the beginning of my beautiful story and journey. By the time my son was 6, his words had increased. I persisted with speech and language therapy. And then after a while, the woman came to me and, "Auntie Dotun, this speech therapy that I'm doing, I've done enough for your son. He's doing well, he will do well. And I think other families need me. Let me go." And just before then, I was in my bathroom that day and God said to me, "Go and open a center." So I said, and coincidentally she came that evening. I said, "Auntie Grace, I want to open a center." She said, "It's needed though, and I will support you." And she did. She did give that support. And my husband said to me, "You want to open a center? What do you know? You have only your son. You cannot open a center for families without using your son as an example. Go and learn more about autism." So for the whole of 2005, I was going between the UK, the US, and Nigeria, learning on how to manage children with autism. And when I came back, finally, in 2005, I started writing in the papers. To my amazement and astonishment, there were many families. I have a child. I have a son. Someone even sent me a message from the north. She said, "I have that kind of person that you have described, but nobody in my compound knows because I do not bring him out." Very painful, very sad, but that is the society that we live in. Not being able to bring out our children with special needs, not acknowledging their specialty in our community. So we started up with the center as usual, and you know God does not give you a message, does not send you on an errand without backing you up. We needed money to start. In the twinkle of an eye, we approached a couple of people. We approached I think it was about 3 banks then. And Taya Aderiokun of blessed memory gave us the exact amount we needed to run that center for 5 years. I didn't know it was for 5 years because I thought the minute I opened the center, people would come. People did not come. And ask me why. It's the stigma. And when I approached one of my directors then and said, "We don't have the numbers that we're expecting," he said to me, "Why don't you try and take some people free?" And from that day, we started to take families. If we have 2 paying families, 1 family will be free. Today, we have about 40% of our families at Patrick's free because we have people who come to us to say, "I want to help a child. I want to give back to a child." Because I started to speak, I started to talk about my son, who I will tell you how far he has gone. Many people came up and opened centers. Many people came up and brought out their children. Because of the success story of my son, GT Bank started the GT Bank Autism Conference. That conference takes thousands of families today, gives hope to families today because a mother refused to lock her child up. I remember when I started, they said to me, "Mrs. Akande, in Yoruba land, we don't put our dirty linen in public." My son is not a dirty linen. It's a clean, beautiful linen, and I'm ready to talk about him. And because of that, today in Nigeria, families have been saved, children have improved. Many children that don't even know me, that have not come to me, have been able to find succor in their homes. That is the power of having a child that is special. He doesn't give it to anybody. He gives you, sends you on an errand with it. And say, do what I would do. My son, when he got to primary school, he struggled. He struggled all through primary school. Because comprehension was a struggle. Retelling was a struggle. But there was something that he was good at, and that was mathematics. He excelled anything maths, science, ICT, music. Those things don't change. He excelled. But he struggled. And he struggled more with bullying. That's why we are here today, to listen to things we can do to support families. I remember one day I came back from work. And my baby son, after him, for 5 years I didn't have any other child. And then 5 years later, I had my baby son. My baby son came to me and said, Mommy, check Agbolade's back. And then I was still working in the bank. I'm an economist by profession. And when I opened my son's back, I saw marks of cane. I did not sleep that night. As soon as I drove into his school that morning, the owner of the school was standing at the gates. Immediately I came down. I could not even talk. I just busted into tears. I said, who beats my son like this? Is it because he cannot talk? And that woman just held me. She held me. She said, Mrs. Akande, she held me. I will never forget that day. Warm, very warm woman. She made sure that teacher was relieved of his duty in that school. And when my son now went into secondary school, still different, but bright, he was bullied. Up to year 9. When he got to year 9, you know when you get to year 9, you start to choose your subjects. He became the genius of the school. Anybody that was struggling with mathematics, his class teacher will say, come. Agbolade, teach him. Come and teach him maths. That was how the situation came. When my son finished in the secondary school, he had, I think, 6 A's and 1 B. When he finished in university, he made a first-class mathematics. Today, he's a PhD holder in mathematics. That tells you that what you see all the time is not what it is. Our children with special needs are like children, gifts wrapped in newspaper. The more you peel, the more you begin to see the beauty that comes out of them. And then neighbors, there's so many people that helped. There are so many situations that helped. The teachers in the school that believed in him. Some didn't believe. Before my son left the country, I said to myself, how is he going to cope if he doesn't know how to manage issues? So I put him in boarding school in his last year. Let him learn how to live on his own. Let him understand self-care. When he finished, I held him back for 1 year. Made sure he learned how to drive. Made sure he could stand on his own, so that when he was going away to the university, he will be able to do things himself. Many people in the hostel at that time were hostile, but some were kind. The kind ones, my son will always remember. When you ask him, what is the story of secondary school? He will tell you, Mommy, I don't want to remember it. So don't bother to ask me. Because some of those stories are not stories he was willing to share. So I charge us today with the special needs child that is beside you, that you see on a daily basis, that walks around you. What have you been able to do? My daughter, on the other hand, she's a medical doctor. When my son was growing up, I made sure that She was in charge anytime I had to go to work. During one of the times she was seeing a family, the woman said to her, "Why are you so kind? You are one of the kindest doctors that I know." She said, "I have a brother with special needs." Because she had walked that road and she had been taught, let me say the word taught, she could relate with the pains of the parents. What about you? What are you teaching your children? How are you helping? I remember when I was in secondary school, I went to Federal Government Girls College, Calabar. There was this senior Anne. She used to sit at the door. She was visually impaired. In those days, we used to call them blind. When we are coming, she was our senior. When we are coming back to the hostel from class, Senior Anne will already be seated by her bedside. And we would tiptoe. We would tiptoe and move back. Because Senior Anne, once she grabs you, you are going to be the one to read to her while she types her braille. What a lesson. How did I know that very, very, very far into the future I would have a child with special needs? So I would tiptoe and walk past. But because she had the ability to smell, she had a smell for each and every one of us. She would just call my name, Dotun. Oh yeah, come and sit. And I say, "Oh God, Senior Anne, why did you have to call me?" Those situations prepare us for the future. God doesn't make mistakes. He's a master planner. Who will know that the story of a woman and her son could change millions of lives in this country. I refuse to leave Nigeria. I refuse to get staff from my staff is here. Gbenga, thank you very much. Favor, thank you very much for all you do. Gbenga, thank you. I refuse to take staff, thank you very much, from abroad because people believe that Nigerians, what do they know about autism? We know. We are a peculiar people, a royal priesthood. You know, don't let the government tell you otherwise. Nigeria is blessed. Whatever you say, how do you explain how we are coping in 1070? And we still stand because he holds us. He upholds us. I refuse to take anybody from abroad. I said the people here, we can do the job. With God on our side. They have brought people from the UK, the US. We have sent them back differently. And they are asking, what happened? We have had people relocate because they came to Patrick's for 1 month. It is not that we are better than the rest of the world. God is there. And in everything you do, if you don't put God first, it's not doable. So today we are talking about love without limits. And I want to start from 1 Corinthians 13, 4 to 8. I will just take a little bit of it. Love is patient and kind. It does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist in its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices with truth. What I want you to take home there is love is patient. Love is kind. It is not irritable by the sight of that child that is drooling. It is not resentful of the gifts that God has given me. Why did you give me this child? Many times when we have children with special needs, when we get the diagnosis, in the mind of some of the parents, the child has already died. with that diagnosis and what they see, they will just think that, why me? It is good for you to wallow and ask God, why me? But don't stay too long in that horrible pit. Don't stay too long. Once you realize that something is wrong, pull up your socks and put on your thinking cap. Where do I go? How can I help? What can I do? Who can I call on my side? Because it is a very lonely road. You don't want to walk it alone. When we say love, we say it is patient and it is kind. You, the brother, the sister, the neighbor, the stranger that sees a child or a woman struggling with a special needs child, what do you do? How do you come in? How do you help? Disability is in the Bible, and it came after the fall. And it did not come only to human beings. It came to animals as well. And it came to everything. Sometimes you see a plant, and you find out how the plant is able to grow in that state of not being the right state. It's God's way of allowing us to appreciate a side of Him. Who is responsible for disability? I don't know if they can put up the Bible verses as I read, as I go on to it. God takes responsibility. Let's look at Micah 4, 6-7. Can we put it up, please? Micah 4, 6-7. In that verse, God takes responsibility. In that day, says the Lord, I will assemble the lame. I will gather the outcast and those what? Whom I have afflicted. God takes responsibility. He takes responsibility, but He also gives succor. How? If we look at Moses' story, when God said, go and let my people go. He asked him, said, God, I am a man of slow speech. I do not have the capacity to be able to speak. God at that time also said that I am the one that made you. I allowed it to happen. But I have brought somebody to help you. And who did God send? Aaron. Go help your brother. Go speak for him. God is in it. If He's not in it, it will not be in our book to tell us that, yes, I am part of it. It sets the space for provision through people. Earlier on in life, if you read the history of disability, you will see what was happening at the beginning of life. We, human beings, are the one that set the stage by looking at the Old Testament and feeling like they should be outcast. If you look at the New Testament and find out where Jesus had compassion, it's in the areas of disability, healing, encouraging, enforcing, and making sure that they were cared for. Who are you caring for in your neighborhood? They say they have no place in our community or where we should be. Remember David, he made a promise to his friend Jonathan. He said, I will take care of your family member. And then years later, I remembered I made a promise to this my friend. Who in his family can I do great things for? He found a son. His son was disabled. He was lame. In those days, at the king's table, it's only men of honor that sits there. Mephibosheth sat on the king's table because he was favored. How many people with disability have you favored in your lifetime? God also called the people of Israel to care about people with disability. There's a story in the Bible about 4 friends. They were not 4 brothers. They were not 4 strangers. They were 4 friends. They heard that there's a man that comes in. And this man is in town. But the crowd is so big. We cannot get through. The pastor is so busy. People are always around him. I cannot get through to him. But there are ways. I can find time. When he's coming, I wait at the door. I grab him at that opportunity because I want my friend to be helped. They couldn't get in, but they broke the roof. God looked up. What's going on? Why is this thing falling on my head? Jesus looked up. And he saw them, said, what great faith. Those 4 men, they had compassion on their friend. Teamwork. They worked together as a team. They must have collaborated. Oga, this crowd is plenty. How do we do it? What do we do? Should we break the door? Should we shout on the crowd? Let's look up. How many of us can climb? Can you climb? We don't have ladder. Can I put him on my shoulder and then see how we can go up? I'm sure they deliberated. I'm sure they looked at it. Sacrifice. They gave everything they had to make sure that God was able to see their friend come down. It was probably not the faith of the sick person. It was the faith of the friend that saved the sick, the man that was paralyzed. God promised to deliver each and every one of us from whatever we feel we are going through. There are various insights in the Bible of treatment and care for people with disability. How do we care for them? We improve their lives by making them dignified, even in their disability, giving their lives value. How do we do that? We give them responsibility. In the church, we look at situations. What can this person do around us in this church? We find what the person can do. We introduce. I tell you, if every time you come through that door, you find somebody with special needs being the one to say good morning, being the usher in the church, or being the one to give you your money bag for you to put your offering in it, it will not become a mirage. It will not become a myth. It will not become something that is dirty. We relate disability with poverty. We relate it with sin. We relate it with devaluation. They are not devalued. How do we minister to them if they are at home? Today I charge the church. Find one of them that can be in your choir. One of them that can be ushering. One of them that can be even if they can't do anything, stand at the door and say good morning. Even if the person cannot speak, allow him to be able to shake. Do you know what that does? It improves their value, their self-worth. They are able to express themselves better because they have been accepted. I talk to parents. When you have that child, mommy, daddy, please accept whatever that child brings. Start to run with it. My staff is here. She can tell you for free. Once the parents have accepted, they have decided that this is what we are going to do for this child, and we give them advice on nutrition, try and clean up the nutrition of that child. Let that child eat something that is grown on the trees or in the ground, nothing that has shelf life, no preservatives, no sugar, no unnecessary preservation in the child's diet. And the people are patient with therapy. You just see the child begin to do well. Many parents are not patient. They want a quick fix. It does not work that way. You have to be patient to see your child through. You have to be patient to support that child. And the church, many times we do not acknowledge that these people are amongst us. Let the church be a place where your members can come in and give you ideas. And let it be a place where they can come in to say, this is what I'm going through. Follow up. I remember during my own time, I also went to church. Nobody followed me up, but I followed myself up. In prayers, in giving, and in looking for help in places where I knew that there was compassion. In the church community, how are we bringing up our children? Are we bringing them up to be kind? Special needs should be discussed in the children's church and in the youth church. Let them go and volunteer in different places so that they would know that life is not always in one way. Many people are dismayed when they have a child with special needs because they've never seen it before. Let us introduce our children to these wonderful people. They are gifts, and they bring light to anywhere they go if they are accepted. So our responsibility is to open our doors, open our hearts. That woman that has a child with special needs, do peer-to-peer tutoring, peer-to-peer mentoring. Find somebody in that group of church. I think I spoke about it yesterday. Just go ahead. Create an opportunity. Contrive it. Find somebody in that youth church that says that Toby has special needs. Toby has cerebral palsy. Toby has autism. We use the opportunity to educate the entire group about what autism is. We talk about the challenges. We talk about the strength. We talk about the ways in which they can help. It builds character in those children. It builds empathy in those children. When they go out into the community, they become kind. They will not become selfish individuals. Maybe in their generation, we will think of others and we will remove this me attitude that we have grown. The world is lacking kindness now. It's not only in Nigeria, all over the world. We are looking more at ourselves and less at others, about how we can lift others up. So, in the church, create it. Find ways, especially the very young ones. Read storybooks of a child on a wheelchair, a child that is visually impaired. Show movies that tells about how to care for a child with special needs. That way, when they grow up, they will always remember it. I want to close now, because I have about 10 minutes, with the story of one of the people I admire so much. I know many of you might know him. His name is Nick Vujicic. I had to practice that Sunday before coming here today. I told my husband, oh yeah, pronounce it. He said Vujicic. I said, no, it's not Vujicic. Let's practice together. Nick said, if those that don't know about him, he was born without arms and legs. And that brings me to the fact that you say, is it the parents that sinned or the person that sinned? God said, no, it's for my glory to show forth. Meaning that there's a part of God that God cares about. It's for my glory to go into the community, for people to know that I am a God that cares. And when some people tried to heal and they couldn't, they asked, why God? God said, it is because these things don't go away except with what? Fasting and prayers. So you see that all these things work together. And God knows you. As he has created you, he knows you. Your blueprint is in his palm of his hands. He knows what he has put inside of you. So every time you are going down and crying, oh God, why did you give it? Say, the arsenal is there. Bring it out. The arsenal is inside. Bring it out. I have deposited it in you. Nick said, I prayed every day for arms and legs. He was born without arms, without legs. And he said, more than a conqueror is not when you have conquered. More than a conqueror is when you have accepted your situation. You are living in it and you are at peace with it. That is more than a conqueror. That part of the Bible. Today he ministers to thousands. They give their lives on a regular basis. One day he went into the restaurant to go and eat with his wife and 4 children. He's married with 4 children. And as they ate and finished, and it was time to give the bill, the waiter went straight to the wife because he did not believe that Nick could pay for the food. They pay him to speak, by the way. When the waiter went to the wife to give her the bill, the woman directed him back to her husband and said, he's the one paying. The waiter felt very bad. That was a teaching opportunity for that waiter. Parents of children with special needs, I don't want you to wallow in the fact that nobody is talking to me, my children don't have friends. Remove the garment of shame and wear the garment of praise. Take your child everywhere. When they ask you, when people look at you, when people laugh, you educate them. Tell them, oh, you don't know about this? My son has autism, and this is what autism is about. Teach them. My son has cerebral palsy, and this is what cerebral palsy is about. There's a young girl that has cerebral palsy that speaks. The mother understands the voice. The school understands the voice because they've been able to find a way to communicate with her. She still shakes. She's still in that state of having spasms, but she speaks in her own language. Let us find ways to communicate with our children, especially when they are not using their voices. They communicate. And God that has brought us together, because the Bible says that whoever you are able to help is what? Your brother. Whoever is beside you is your brother. It's not only the ones that come from your parents' home. Whoever you are able to lift up, that is your brother. Let us be our brother's keeper. Thank you very much for listening to me today. I hope I've been able to impact 1 or 2 things.
Please, we can do better than this, please. I noticed some of us were not excited when you said the child had first class. Come on. It's part of this indifference. Please, if you have any questions, she will take 5 minutes to answer the questions. And then we'll have Tejiri come up and make a presentation to the church. Questions? Things we want clarity? I couldn't have avoided to bring Dotun here, so take advantage of it. Can we have someone? Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Akande. Thank you for bringing this message. My question is, did your son go to a special school in his secondary school time and university?
Remember I said that when we started, there was nothing on ground. My son went to mainstream school all his life. In fact, there was a situation when he was looking for a job, and Microsoft was employing people with autism to come and work for them. And I said to him, son, Microsoft is reviewing people with autism. He said, no, I'm not going to go under that umbrella. I will wait till I find a job for myself. That is how far we have come. That is not to say some children will not thrive in special schools. And that is not to say that inclusion, which we preach at all times, is not important. Very important. But at the same time, some children need time apart for a while. And then we slowly introduce them to the community and they thrive. One of such children is Daniel Ogunubi, who came to us with very, very severe case of communication deficit. None whatsoever. Today he speaks 3 languages. It tells you that it's not only my son. We have at the school a very vibrant young lady who did not, up till now, go to school. But if you give her a dress, she can sew a dress a day. Telling you that school is not the only way to support these children. When we saw that she was very good with the machine, we asked Rough and Tumble. How many people know Rough and Tumble? That would like her to intern there. They opened their doors, and she interned in Rough and Tumble. And from then on, she began to emerge. Today, she's in our vocational unit. She's in Gazelle Studio, sewing weighted vests for others. So the most important thing is know the strength of that child. Very vital. What can he or she do without the help of anybody? Then you start to sharpen it. It takes a long time. It's not fly by night. It took us about 5 years for us to even find what MM could do very well. But now, she's a master at what she does.
Thank you very much, Ma, Thank you very much, Ma, for the question. So, for the presentation. So my question, I want to ask a question around some prescriptions and medications. So, I have a close friend whose child has been diagnosed with this ADHD, but they live in Canada, and the doctor said, he's on the spectrum, but the way the boy is 7 or 8, but the way they're approaching it is to use medications. And there's, I just want to know your thoughts about that, because some of the things she has been saying is that the medications are sort of suppressing the child's abilities, and she's trying to stay off it, but in school there's no acceptance. But they're not the things you said. You've not mentioned medications. So I just wanted to get more perspective on that.
Okay, for the area of medication, I don't really like to go into it, but I will share something very pertinent with you. For ADHD, the first thing you want to do for a child with ADHD is to introduce that child to a particular sport. Find what that child can do in the area of sports. Benga, please, can you come and take this call? Find what that person can do in sports. Swimming. How many people know Michael Phelps? Michael Phelps has ADHD. His mother refused medication and said she's going to turn that hyperactivity into a skill. And that's exactly what she did. You see, our focus on academics should change. It's not everything. When my son was struggling, I said to him, Mr. Agbolade, your hands are working. Your legs are working. You are going to play piano for the church. The church is going to... Maybe you people pay for organists. Hey, you are going to play for the church. I ran to Muson Center. I got the curriculum. I sat him down. Every 5 minutes, have you practiced your piano? Have you practiced? Today, if that boy sees piano, I was telling him the other time that, I have a gift for you. I want to give you a piano. He said, Mommy, I don't have space in my house for piano. I forced piano down that poor boy's throat, thinking that this boy will not go to school. I said to myself, it's okay. It's not everybody that goes to school. There are people that don't go to school that are doing well. But this vocation of piano, you are going to play it. If God has said that speech is not your forte, but I know that at least you can function in one area. Let us find ways where our children can function. I'm not saying medication is wrong. I just know that the parents need a rethink. Go and clean that child up. Remove all preservatives. Remove things like carbohydrates that can turn to sugar in that child's system. Remove it and get that child to be able to work in his own self-regulation. Put him in a sports. And it's not sports that you just say, oh, he's swimming. Once you decide that he's swimming, you will go and get the curriculum of swimming. You break it down into smaller pieces. What are we achieving today? Were we able to achieve it? Don't mind how long it takes. Special needs is not moi moi. It's not a walk in the park. It is marathon. You have to be ready for it. That is why you must never walk that road alone. You must never walk it alone. You need your mental health to be intact before you are able to do it correctly. I think, yes. There's a young man with a question. Thank you.
Good morning, Ma.
Good morning,
Good
dear.
morning, the church. On behalf of Children Ministry and the 9 to 12 class, my question is, what is cerebral palsy and how can we help it?
Thank you very much. Cerebral palsy is when a child is born and that child lacked oxygen at birth. So when you see a child with cerebral palsy, most of the time there are different types of cerebral palsy. There's the spastic and there's the plastic. What that means is that some of them are stiff, some of them are floppy. So you have to know the one that individual carries. Sometimes children with cerebral palsy have the ability to use their limbs over time. So at the beginning, the child will not be able to sit still. At about 6 months, the child will not be able to sit on his own. The child will not be able to have head control. So when you pick up the child and you put the child down, the head drops. So you constantly have to control the neck of that child. No neck control, no sitting span, no ability to stand, and finds it difficult to walk. That is why you find that children with cerebral palsy, many times they are on the wheelchair. But sometimes with physiotherapy over the years, you find some of them begin to gain strength in those muscles. So when we say it's spastic, it means that the muscle is either too stiff or the muscle is too soft. They cannot carry the weight of that child. But sometimes with constant therapy, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, some of them eventually gain speech. They start to use words, and then they start to gain strength around the muscles, and they begin to walk. So sometimes you find some of them walking funny. That is when you see that they are walking with a limp, or they are walking side to side, or they have problems with their gait. Gait is what holds us together and helps us to stand straight. So once you see that they are struggling with their gait, that is when we come in as young people to say, can I help you? You can just hold your hand out, and the person might say, oh, I'm fine. Okay, you say, if you need help, I'm seated right there. You can come to me at any time to ask for help. And that is what we are trying to preach today, the ability to have empathy, to be able to support these individuals, especially when they are your age mates, you know. So cerebral palsy is not a death sentence. Sometimes you find that some of them wear bibs. It's because the muscles around the mouth is so weak that they cannot even sometimes swallow or drink water, and then the water begins to drop from the side of their mouth. So this can also be worked on with therapy, with various massages, facial massage, mouth massage, lip strengthening activities. They can help them get better as they grow up. We have somebody called Tobi Loba Ajayi. She speaks vehemently about including children with cerebral palsy in schools. She is a young lady with cerebral palsy, and she does it with dignity and grace. I remember she said to us that many times when she was young, her mother kept taking her from church to church to church, and they were telling the mother that you did not have faith. You don't have enough faith, that's why your child cannot be healed. But Tobi was healed internally. It just did not show in her physical body. She was healed because she had the spiritual strength to be able to carry herself, knowing who she is. So when she goes to churches, she talks about how healing is not only physical. There is the spiritual healing. There's the healing of the mind. If the mind, like I was saying about Vujicic, that he was spiritually healed in his mind. He made up, he said he felt better. He said, I thank God that he did not give me arms and legs like I prayed for. I thank God that he did not take that, he did not give me my wish to have arms and legs, because I've done more without arms and legs than probably if I had arms and legs. Did I answer your question, sir? Thank you. And thank you for asking. I really like the fact that. Please, church, know that I'm available, especially for your youth and children's church. I love to talk to them. I love to answer their questions. Their mind is so pure. This is the time when we can help heal it. Maybe Nigeria will be better in their generation.
So we have 3 more people, just 3 more. 1 person here, 1 person there, and Jukes. Please go ahead.
Me? Oh, good morning, Ma. Thank you, Mrs. Akande, for what you do. So, I have a nephew, right, who's autism on the stream. And my question may be a bit controversial.
Go ahead.
You know, you said things about the food you eat, and I did hear of something that had to do with the vaccines.
Yeah.
Because you notice for some of these children, just like you said, by age 1, 2, and all, they are fine. Probably, I have a colleague in the office, same thing. Are there, that's why I say a bit controversial.
Please, yes. I like controversy.
Are there vaccines that, you know, one should actually stay away from?
Yes.
Because, you know, it could trigger this in the toddler or the little child. I won't lie to you, because my nephew who was, who is on that stream, I remember my mom telling my sister, this medicine, because they are in the States, this medicines that look, I don't mean to be funny, that she wishes she had brought Namdi back to Nigeria. She's sure that, you know, she would have dealt with it, because of course, you know, there are routine out there. My point is, at this point, you know, when there are, yes, some kids can withstand it, but you're even saying with food, with the intake of food, can it be triggered? And are there things we should stay away from?
Thank you very much. With autism, there's a lot of controversy. And I will tell you what we are seeing in our own community. The first thing is the talk on vaccines. The Western world has said, oh, it's not the vaccine. Some children have something in their biology that when that vaccine hits it, it triggers it. That is why we have regressive autism. It is my own take. I'm not saying it's the world take, but it is my own take. I can tell you for free that sometimes when we do a biomedical cleansing of some of these children, they are like they were never on the spectrum. My son on his own did not used to take ice cream, soft drink. The only thing he would eat when he was growing up was rice and amala. We say we do. He will not eat meat. He will not touch fish. So we know that the gut of some of these children, the biology is wrong. And that's where the vaccines come in. That measles, mumps, and rubella, MMR. That MMR, many parents can swear that it was when that child was vaccinated that their child had a fever, and that is when they began to see a downturn in the developmental milestones of that child. So we say to parents, especially parents that have had children with autism before, if you have a baby, take measles apart. Don't take MMR. Wait for that child to be fully developed. Then you can go for your MMR. We are not saying don't take it. We are just saying take it at a later stage where that child has fully developed all the developmental milestones. There's a lot in the food that we eat. We know it. 70% of us, according to statistics, by the time we get to the age of 70, we might not be able to climb the staircase. We are going to have one form of disability or the other. How do we prevent it? Now, what do you put inside of this body? We know it now. Some of us know when we eat certain foods, immediately there's a trigger. Some people that are sensitive to their body, we know that when there is pesticides, when the food has gone through pesticides, the minute you eat it, your body will tell you. There's a lot going on out there, GMO products. That is why we are all going back to gardening in our own compound, even if it's in sack. Let us garden. Anyway, 100,000 in the market now is like 10,000 of those days. So gardening has now become very interesting. I'm even thinking about it. Especially some of us that carry a lot of people around. My assistant in the house is sitting here. She can tell you, if she boils rice and I have to scoop out this handful of burnt rice, I tell her every day, people are out there, they can't eat. It's not allowed in this house. You can eat anything you want, but don't waste my food. This is not that, it's so painful. Don't waste my food. I carry a lot of people on my shoulders. I know what is out there. So please, as much as it depends on you, especially those of us that are above 40, they used to say 50. No, it's now 40. Watch what you eat. Don't eat outside. All this Ajinomoto and co, it's not going to work. Madam, I hope I answered your question perfectly.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Akande. I want to ask this question on behalf of a friend of mine.
Yes.
They have a son, he has CP, and he has totally put their family in disarray. They don't know what to do. We've had conversations. A lot of things that he said, they didn't want to take the boy out. We had conversations. Take the boy out, just go places and all that. But they have just been confused about how to deal with these things. So my question is, are there communities where they can literally join?
Yes.
Where they can also have engagement with parents that walked through that route before? And then secondly, how can people enroll in your organization, people with special needs? How can they enroll in your organization?
Thank you very much. If you want to come to Patrick's, unfortunately, we are full right now. We are no longer taking people, but that doesn't mean that we cannot help. We have a very strong online community where we put parents together in a WhatsApp group. Like I said to you, we are very passionate about parents that struggle financially. So we have a WhatsApp group and we train them every blessed day. You can come to that platform, ask your questions, we'll answer it, we'll give you the support. If there's a need for us to collaborate with somebody to help you, we will give you the help that is needed. And there are communities where your friend can belong to. So after this service, please see me, I will give you a number. Give it to him. Let his wife or himself join that community. It's a community of families that have children with cerebral palsy. Cerebral palsy is very, very hard. It's not only emotionally draining, it is financially draining because they have to buy a wheelchair, they have to do physiotherapy every day. And you know what that means. Doing physiotherapy 3-4 times in a week is a lot of money. A session can cost 15,000 naira in those days. I don't know how much it is now. If you are a friend of somebody that is going through cerebral palsy, please don't leave your friend. If you don't have the means in terms of financial support, give the emotional support. Give and find. Anybody that you know that supports individuals, tell them, I have a friend that is struggling with this. Let us please come together. If you have friends from your old school that you can pull together to give the right support to your friend's family, please do. I remember a while back, we do what we call therapy outreach. And during the therapy outreach, I spoke to some of my friends abroad, and they gave us wheelchairs. And one of the parents that took the wheelchair sent me a video of the child in the wheelchair. She said to me, this is the first time my child is seeing the sun. Very, very painful. She said, Mrs. Akande, thank you very much. I sent the video to the person that gave the wheelchair. Special needs community is no joke. Please, I beg you, in this church, let this church be the pioneer church that makes a difference in the lives of people with special. We don't talk about it on the pulpit. I know in my church, I wrote to my pastor, I have never heard about special needs in this church. He said, I will get back to you. This is 8 years later. I'm still waiting for my pastor to get back to me. He's no longer my pastor, but we need to talk about it. You know when you have a wound and it doesn't go away, that is exactly what it's like. But when you have a wound and somebody comes, like Mary went to the feet of, and used that oil to wash his feet. Like Jesus came and washed the feet of his disciples. Ladies and gentlemen, the reward of special needs, I will tell you for free. As much as we carry a lot of people that cannot afford services, we are going to be 20 years in 2006. We have never borrowed. We have never lacked. God has been there. God has been there. Myself, Dotun, I have never lacked. Not because there are not seasons where lack is coming, but as it is coming, something is provided. And in the right place. You know how God works? He will not give you something that will bring pride to you. He will give you just enough. He will give you that manna as it falls. Every morning when you wake up, it's there. That's exactly what it's like. Please, let New Dawn Baptist Church be the church that they say, go and look at them, see what they are doing. I was telling Ndidi that I love your pastor. He has an open mic day where people come and say their mind. That is a pastor that cares. I'm not patronizing you, ma. I don't patronize people. I'm just telling you, it's a beautiful thing to see in this day and age. Let's move out from doctrines, things that church. Let's leave church and let us be human beings. Let's be our brother's keeper. That is why we are here on this earth. We are not here for the 5 cars we have. We are here for the little we can share with the people around us. Please, hold on to all those struggling and find ways. If you have young teenagers, if you have parties, if you have things to invite, insist. Tell them, if this person doesn't come, this party may not happen. My son had a birthday party. He invited 4 of his friends from school. And when he told them, tomorrow is my birthday, I want to take you out to the cinema. Will you come? They said, fantastic, we'll come. I'm sure after he turned his back, because when he got to the cinema, nobody was there. That's one of the first days I saw my husband almost in tears. He said, I feel bad. And when we asked my son, what happened? He said, Mom, maybe they were busy. That's the mind of a child with autism. He holds no grudge. He said, maybe they were busy. We were the ones holding the grudge. I'm sure if we had gone to the school the next day and we had seen the children, we'd be pointing fingers at you. He said maybe they were busy, and he went on doing his own thing. It's not a walk in the park. Let us encourage our friends, our brothers, and our sisters. I think the last question.
Yeah, good morning, Mrs. Akande. I just want to thank you very much for what you do and for making time to talk to us here. Frankly speaking, it has been a very tough time. The struggle is real. The struggle has been very, very real. But I thank God, for His infinite mercy and His blessings over my life. I want to also commend that this ministration has blessed me so much. It has answered a lot of questions, although I still have a lot of questions to ask you as time goes on. It has answered some vital questions, and I just want to thank God for bringing you here. And I've not been. I feel for my wife a lot. She has been. There's a comment you made about opening up to people. I have not really done that. I want to confess, I've not really. Some few people knew some time ago, and they told me, you mean you are going through this? Why are you not opening up? I don't know. I also don't know why I'm not telling people, and I don't always take my child wherever I'm going to. I was initially doing it before when I was mobile, but now I've not been doing that. But in the midst of all this, I still see the hand of God on him. I still see him being, okay, I spoke with someone. He said, at a certain age, he said, can he do so thing himself? I said, yes. At that age, yes. He said, can he go to the restroom himself? I said, yes. For a very, he doesn't bed wet. You know, so I thank God for those little signs I'm seeing. I am not discouraged. So I thank you for coming to unlock something inside of me. God bless you very much, man.
Thank you very much for sharing. God bless you. Every time you have an opportunity, take him out. You know what it does? That child mops up from your emotions. They are like sponges. When you are down, they are down. Does he speak? Yes. So, does he communicate? Can he communicate his needs to you? We have started. Daddy, good. You are on the right path. And this is just the beginning. And know that you have a friend in me. You can call me anytime. Ask him the day. Any time of the day, I will answer you. Please, as much as it depends on you, find somebody that can hold your hand. It is a lonely road, but it is a blessed road. God bless you. Thank you for sharing part of yourself. Thank you for having me. God bless you.
Thank you. We'll definitely be having part 2. God bless you. Thank you. So Tejiri is going to give us a special